We're moving on to the Sam Seder story here. So there was a clip circulating around on X that obviously rubbed people the wrong way. Some people were really surprised by it. I was not surprised to hear this rhetoric from Sam Seder, and I'm going to explain to you why. So when it comes to the 2024 election, in reference to who you should support, now the majority report, they have actually criticized the genocide. They have criticized the way that Israel has responded. But when it comes to voting in 2024, what did they say? What did Sam say in reference to Joe Biden? Listen to this.
For not wanting to vote for Genocide Joe and going all white savior as if voting for blue MAGA has made anyone's lives better. Well, I will tell you something. The fact of the matter is that we cut child poverty in half, by 45%, 40%. I think that makes a difference to people's lives. For not wanting to vote for Genocide Joe and going all white savior as if voting for blue MAGA has made anyone's lives better. Well, I will tell you something. The fact of the matter is that we cut child poverty in half, 40.
So let me get this straight, folks. So Sam Seder is excusing the genocide. That was a comment from a viewer, is excusing the genocide issue with Joe Biden in defense of the child poverty reduction. What he leaves out is obviously the fact that the Democratic Party, they also stopped that short. Remember that? They're like, oh, we're cutting child poverty in half. Then they stopped it in short. Then I told you, I reported a couple months after that child poverty had actually increased in the United States. So Sam Seder isn't going to tell you that. That's because Sam ain't really doing no damn research. He's not. He said this before on the show. He's not researching this stuff, right? Why is that? Why is that? So he thinks you should still support Joe Biden because they reduced child poverty and that made a big difference in people's lives. And I'm pretty sure, Sam, when they shortened the child poverty, when they shortened those benefits and they said, you know what, we're going to go ahead and stop it early, I'm pretty sure that made another difference in people's lives and not in a positive way.
In half, by 45%, 40%. I think that makes a difference to people's lives.
He thinks, doesn't really know because he hasn't been in that situation, right? So a lot of people saw this clip circulating on Twitter and they were very upset. People were like, I can't believe he's actually wanting people to go out there and vote for Joe Biden, considering Joe Biden is participating in the genocide of the Palestinian people. So, you know, you can't talk out both sides of your mouth, because if you're on your show and you're telling people that, yes, it is genocide that is being committed. Yes, it is appalling. Yes, we need to stand in solidarity with the Palestinian people. But you tell the people to go ahead and vote for Genocide Joe because of the child poverty, which actually increased months later. You're not no progressive, man. You're not no, and we're going to go back in time because we're going to look at some things because, you know, unlike Sam, I do look up things. I do research. And we're going to go back to a moment because I told you that some of these platforms, some of these people, just because they promoted Bernie Sanders campaigns and they agreed with those progressive policies, I told you guys a couple nights ago that a lot of those people were not progressives. They are liberals who just wanted everybody to have health care. Now we're going to go back 6 years ago. 6 years ago, there was a debate on the Majority Report. It was Sam Seder and Tim Black. Now, Tim Black called into the show. And we're going to look at some of the things that Sam Seder said to show you that Sam is just a liberal. This is who he has always been. When he was a part of Majority Report from the beginning, fast forward to now, he's just always been a liberal, not progressive. And it's a very revealing moment here. And it says, Sam Seder debates Tim Black on progressive infighting. This was 6 years ago, June 25th, 2017. Well, listen to this. We're going to talk about this. And then you tell me if you're still surprised about what Sam said. Let's start with this part.
I'm not sure exactly what it is that we're supposed to be fighting against, where it would make sense for me, from my perspective, to spend time on, I don't spend time really criticizing any specific media people. It's more about when specific moments come up. But I don't know that there's really much I would have a problem with on policy with, let's say, Rachel Maddow. Now, I suppose, I think broadly speaking, I am to the left of her, although I'm not 100% sure about that. But
Exhibit A. This is Sam Seder telling you that he wasn't sure if he was to the left of Rachel Maddow. But people believed he was a progressive. Rachel Maddow doesn't support Medicare for all. She doesn't support those other progressive policies. She damn sure as well didn't support Bernie Sanders' campaign and criticized him and smeared him every chance that she got. Rachel Maddow is a liberal. She likes the status quo. So this was Sam 6 years ago, letting everybody know that he didn't even know if he was to the left of Rachel Maddow. But people are surprised he's still telling you to vote for Joe Biden.
And I've had an issue with, MSNBC. There's a lot of people who go on there, it seems to me, who are pretty excited at the prospect of bombing Syria.
Right.
But outside of that, and certainly I've been on MSNBC arguing against that with those people. But what specifically, tease this out for me? Liberals versus progressives. What's the difference between a liberal and a progressive? I have a sense of what's the difference between a liberal and, let's say, a socialist or a radical, but what's the difference between a liberal and a progressive?
Exhibit B. Sam didn't know the difference between liberals and progressives. Liberals are fine with the status quo. In fact, liberals, I would argue, want to protect the status quo, right? They don't really want to reform the system. Progressives are supposed to want to reform the system. Now, I am to the left of progressive because I've learned in my lifetime, a lot of times these reforms don't fucking work. Just don't go far enough. I've seen a lot of educational reforms that really did not go far enough. So to me, I'm to the left of that. A lot of us over at RBN would consider ourselves to be Marxists or socialists. We are to the left of that. And that's why a lot of times people will smear us and say that we're right wing. Make that shit make sense. Right? But he don't know the difference. So listen to this.
A radical. Well, to me, radicals, for instance, are just people who want to change the status quo. And hopefully, there are a lot of those people out there who don't like the direction the country's going. But the difference between progressives and liberals, in my opinion, because it's all relative to each individual, I'd say liberals are like Sam Seder. They fall in line with Rachel Maddow, who think this Russia narrative, the impeach Donald Trump narrative, is something that's going to actually help us. And it's doing nothing but raise the money for the Democratic Party.
So that was Tim saying that a liberal is like you, Sam Seder, who is much like a Rachel Maddow. You have to remember, Sam Seder had an MSNBC contract. He was a contributor. He actually pushed Russiagate, just like Rachel Maddow did. But this is the person that people consider to be progressive. That's Exhibit C.
So progressives, in my opinion, are people who want to focus on the issues like ending interventionist wars, ending fracking, and having no tolerance for candidates or media that support the destruction of our environment. Progressives stood up in Standing Rock to try to stop an oil pipeline. The progressives talk about Flint. They talk about water. They talk about police incarceration. They talk about police violence. They talk about Tamir Rice. They talk about John Crawford. They talk about Terrence Crutcher. That's what progressives do. What liberals do is they talk about surface issues that don't directly impact Americans, average Americans. I don't think, like most Americans, do not give a flying filth about what's going on with MSNBC talking about Trump. So I think that's the line. Like, do you swallow the mainstream media narratives, or do we focus on real issues that matter to people? And yeah, your thing with Jimmy back and forth. I mean, that's
all right. Well, hold on, Tim. Let me just before we get into
let's pause there. Now let's think about something for a second in reference to the issues. He mentioned Standing Rock. He mentioned Flint. How many liberals were present at Standing Rock? Because the first time I even heard about Standing Rock was progressive independent media. That was the first time I even heard about it, because Nico House was there. I think it was Nico, and I'm not sure if Fee was there, but I think Nico House was at Standing Rock. Jordan Sheridan was at Standing Rock. That's where I first heard about it. It wasn't mainstream media. How many liberals were in Flint, Michigan, or even covered it? Because again, first time I heard about what was happening in Flint was left independent media on YouTube. Going a little bit more here.
Before we get into the Jimmy thing. So your argument is, I mean, first of all, I don't think that there's going to be impeachment of Trump.
Well, why aren't you hitting these bastards that are saying it daily, like 24/7?
Well, because frankly, I think it's been relatively effective with achieving my agenda, which is to not have healthcare destroyed, to not have, the Dakota Access Pipeline, that's gone now, right? I mean, more or less because of the Trump administration. But all of the things that you talked about, hold on, let me just say this now. All the things you've talked about are things that we talk about on this program significantly. And I'm looking at and on top of which, I would say, and frankly, I don't care what you call me. It doesn't matter to me. It's completely irrelevant, but it's cute.
I would say a lot of those things, more those things that Tim was talking about, I feel like Michael Brooks brought up those topics. Michael Brooks was the one that was a little bit more progressive, a little bit more like edgy on Majority Report. I thought he was like the best commentator on Majority Report, to be honest with you. And when he passed away, I was just like, well, guess I won't be watching that show anymore, because it just, they're just keeping it real. But I felt like Michael Brooks was a little bit more down to earth, whereas I felt like Sam is often not. It's just keeping it real.
Curious to me, because you see some type of major split here, and you want to say that Rachel Maddow, has she been doing a lot of Russia stuff? Yes. Have we commented on that? Yes. We have joked about it. I do think that the Russia stuff is really, to a large extent, to be honest with you, I think it's a case of people basically yelling fire in front of their house so that the cops and the fire department shows up and they find out, oh, there's a burglar inside. But aside from that, I look at like the last, whatever it is. I mean, you don't do all of your show on YouTube, right? Do you do some of it on audio? I'm not totally familiar with it, but.
Oh yeah. Well, different, I also go on location. I was at the Anti-War Coalition Convention in Richmond.
No, but I'm asking,
over the weekend. Before that, I went to the People's Summit.
Do I get a fair assessment of your content from looking at your YouTube uploads?
Oh, well, yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. I mean, I do a lot of content.
I'm looking at this, and I don't see the words in the past 4 weeks. I don't see the words healthcare. Am I missing it?
It's like those.
So you see what's happening here, right? So this is Sam Seder trying to basically be a gatekeeper. You didn't talk about, I don't see the title healthcare in the past 4 weeks. So how do I know that you really care about these issues? Gatekeeper, right?
Hello?
You don't see the term healthcare.
I don't see the word healthcare. Now I see Kim.com and Seth Rich 4 or 5 times. But I don't see the word healthcare.
Yeah, we've talked about healthcare.
Okay.
We talk about healthcare every Friday. We have an open forum on our show, similar to
Okay,
yours,
I'm just
guess,
looking
in a
at,
way,
I just asked you.
where
I mean,
people call
okay.
up for 3 hours.
Fair enough. I was just asking you if I could judge by your YouTube videos.
So
you don't have a YouTube video with the word healthcare in it.
See, Sam is being disingenuous because Sam Seder knows that obviously you have to find a way to play with the algorithm, right? Obviously, the word healthcare isn't necessarily the most sexiest word for the algorithm for YouTube. It doesn't mean it hasn't been discussed. I mean, let's just keep it real. I do live streams. There's things I talk about on this show. Different topics here and there. It doesn't mean I'm going to always have this word like in the title. Now we move on to this part here. And I believe this is the one. I think this is the part about Pelosi. Let's go to this part.
It's conceivable that maybe 6 years from now, we will have a more, a Medicare buy-in type of situation. It's possible. Maybe we'll have Medicare for all. Maybe. In the meantime,
we should.
Yeah, I hope so.
And we need Democrats that will actually fight for it. People that will actually fight
absolutely.
for it.
And
right?
knock
Not
on
Nancy
wood, if we're
Pelosi.
super lucky, that will happen. But in the meantime, what's going to happen is we're going to have tens of thousands of people die because they have no health care. Tens of thousands.
We got to fight that. Absolutely.
Well, I understand, Tim, but your premise is that Susan Sarandon doesn't deserve criticism for implying that the revolution's going to happen.
Of course she does.
Okay, so why are you telling me
opinion.
that Chris Hayes is in the pocket of whatever he is because he criticized
Big
Susan
Pharma.
Sarandon? Like,
Exhibit, where are we? D? Sam Seder defending Chris Hayes. Now, Chris Hayes is obviously MSNBC corporate Democrat shill. Why would Sam Seder not understand if Tim said that Chris Hayes is in the pocket of big money, especially considering that Sam was a contributor for MSNBC? Why would he not get that? Why would he not understand that? Sam is a liberal.
talk about wasting time. Forget the conflicts here.
What?
That's listen, I come from that pedigree.
What I was pointing at
why are
was
we
the
spending time talking about Susan Sarandon?
What I was talking about was the audacity of blame that we've been seeing from these corporate media people who are pointing at Russia and pointing at outliers like Jill Stein, only got like 5% of the vote, is the reason why Hillary Clinton didn't win the presidency.
Well, first of all, I don't hear many people talking about that anymore. I mean, honestly.
Well,
Then he hasn't been paying attention. People still blame Jill Stein to this day, including Hillary Clinton and including people on MSNBC and people on CNN. They still blame Jill Stein for part of the reason that Hillary Clinton lost. And they still are quoting Russiagate, propaganda. And Sam Seder was one of the people who was actually pushing Russiagate. So I don't know what bubble he was living in where he has not heard. This was 6 years ago. People are still saying it today. So I don't know what world he's living in where he hasn't heard people say these things. I don't believe that one bit.
Yeah,
if you look for it, you can find it. I'm sure.
Talking point for quite some time.
I got some burning or bust bill.
But I've never heard
to do soon.
I've never heard anybody say that. Look, Jill Stein, mathematically, you could make the argument if every Jill Stein voter in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania voted for Clinton, I suppose you could make that argument. But I don't think. I think to the extent that there was, they hurt the chances of Hillary Clinton winning, it was because they were just going around mouthing right-wing talking points.
Exhibit E. Sam Seder accusing Jill Stein and the Green Party of using right-wing talking points. See, this is another example. I told you when you're to the left of them, they smear you as right-wing. The Green Party platform was actually more progressive than Bernie Sanders' platform. The Green Party has reparations on their platform, which Bernie Sanders didn't want to touch. Remember, he was very clear about that. No. So what? Now Jill Stein is right wing. So pay attention. Again, this is something that liberals will do.
And propagating shit. Propagating shit, frankly.
Campaign in Michigan and Wisconsin.
Listen, yeah, no, that's true too. I agree. That's true too. There's a half a dozen reasons why she lost. And I would say there's, 3 or 4 big ones that were a function of her. And there were 3 or 4 big ones that were not a function of her. But at the end of the day, the people that ostensibly we're fighting for are worse off because of it. They're worse off.
And look, and that's
arguing stuff like Seth Rich was somehow assassinated, or even implying it, is so much more detrimental.
Like Seth Rich.
Yeah.
So then they get into, we're not going to get into the whole Seth Rich thing because that's like a whole back and forth kind of thing. Now we're going to go to this last piece here, which is also a very revealing moment.
If you're concerned, if you're against all those issues that you just listed, which I think are great, you have just as much ammunition to go after Democrats as you do Republicans.
And I do.
You think the Democratic Party is marginally better on a couple of those issues, and that makes them,
I think marginally in some significantly better. So I think significantly better. I mean, I don't know what marginal constitutes. As bad and as critical as I have been for years about Obamacare and about
the
Obama.
Democratic Party is not like, for instance, Nancy Pelosi is not for single payer. So you would have just as much fire for Nancy Pelosi being against insuring more Americans than you would any Republican.
Now that's an important point because here comes Exhibit F. So Tim was telling him that obviously Nancy Pelosi is not in favor of single payer health care. So shouldn't you have just as much criticism for her as you do towards the Republicans who are against single payer health care? Listen to what he says. This is a real mask off moment.
No. Nancy, first of all, Nancy.
She's an impediment to progress when it comes to healthcare, you know it.
No, she's not right now. She's not because she is not in power.
She's the leader of the party okay.
She is the leader of the House caucus. She is a great leader. I would not support, frankly, a challenge to her, particularly in this era.
He said that Nancy Pelosi was a great leader and he wouldn't support a challenge towards her. Now, fast forward to force the vote for Medicare for all. Remember, there was the push to force the vote for Medicare for all against Nancy Pelosi. Remember, Sam Seder was not in support of force the vote. I believe in the beginning he thought about it and it was like, no, I'm pretty sure he got a call. I'm pretty sure he got a phone call because he's a liberal and he was a part of MSNBC. So he was against it. Now it may all seem to make sense when you hear him say, this was before force the vote, that he thought Nancy Pelosi was a great leader and he would not support a challenger to her. Nancy Pelosi was not progressive. She was not in favor of single payer health care. So the point is this, folks. Part of the reason why the progressive movement failed, other than the obvious reason, which is that Bernie Sanders suspended his campaigns, but then left his movement after he suspended the campaigns. The other reason is because you had people like Sam Seder who were promoting progressive issues at that time and promoting someone like a Bernie Sanders. But these people were just basically liberals who wanted everybody to have health care. That's what Sam was. So when someone like Bernie would suspend his campaign, you had someone like Sam on a large platform like the Majority Report, ushering the progressive people into supporting Hillary Clinton or supporting Joe Biden, just as he's doing right now, telling you to still support Joe Biden, even though Joe Biden is complicit and actively involved with the genocide of the Palestinian people. These people are liberals. A lot of these people were never progressive in the first damn place. And if they really cared about those progressive issues, people like Sam would have been advocating for the progressive base of the audience to hold the line. When Bernie failed to do so, he would have said to the progressive supporters, listen, this is what we need to do. We need to hold the line. Do not go and vote for Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden without damn demands. And there were no demands. What were the demands? Did we demand that Hillary Clinton implement Medicare for all? Cancel student loan debt? Give people free public college? Did we have any demands for Hillary Clinton? What were the demands for Joe Biden in 2020 when Bernie Sanders suspended his campaign? What were the demands? All these people just caved and said, well, don't want to get Donald Trump, so let's go and support Joe Biden with no damn demands. And I'm not talking about Bernie Sanders asking Joe Biden for demands. I'm talking about all of us who supported the progressive movement, who supported the Bernie Sanders, who supported the squad members. We had no damn demands. And people like Sam Seder said, do it so you don't get Trump. If somebody like him with the platform that he had would have said, we got to hold the line. Don't go support Trump, but don't go support Hillary. Don't go support Trump, but don't go support Joe Biden. Democratic Party would have been taught a lesson a long damn time ago. And we wouldn't even be having this conversation today. In the meantime, we could have already built a strong third party movement, but you can't do it when you are being tricked by people who masquerade as a progressive and they are just fucking liberals. And that's why he's telling you, again, to support Joe Biden. Genocide and all, folks. Genocide and all.